Hi guys, I'm Carl and today I will be bringing you some of the most important aspects of this game that most people tend to overlook or some people just don't understand yet. Here are 10 tips in winning Axie Infinity Arena. I will also be providing you 3 post-game practices that will surely improve your game sense further. These tips are fundamental concepts that most people tend to forget, but what they don't know is that here lies the secret to winning in Arena. If you want to elevate your game, win more battles, then keep these things in mind. So let's get started. Starting off with tip number 1. It's about axis positioning. Axis positioning is very important because it determines which enemy axis your axis will be attacking. To put it simply, your axis will attack the enemy axis that is closest to them. If you have two enemy axes with the same distance from your attacking axis, there is a 50% chance of attacking the axis on the top or at the bottom. This would be a problem if you want to finish off a low health Axie at the top, but you end up attacking the one on the bottom. For example, let's look at this battle. The enemy has put his aquas in the front, one at the top and one at the bottom. So, our plant will have a 50% chance of attacking the one at the top or the one at the bottom. However, due to the position of our beast and reptile, we are sure to attack the ones at the top first. Let's see what will happen in this move. Okay, so the 50% went to the bottom. Our plant attacked the bottom axis. We don't want this happening because now there's a chance for the lower axis to heal up and cancel our damage. So that's why our main attackers are either at the top or at the bottom row so that we could focus on one axis first and then move on to the next one. We need to be sure of which axis to attack so we don't waste our cards or energy. By positioning your midline and backline at the same row on top or on bottom, the 50% uncertainty will be eliminated. Of course, this positioning isn't the best for all teams. Look at our enemy. Our enemy clearly benefits more from their current positioning than what I'm recommending. But for most teams, please position your midline and backline at the same row either at the top or at the bottom. You won't regret it. Okay, coming in with tip number 2, energy counting. This habit is one of the most important aspects in Arena. This will tell you how much energy your enemy has. So energy counting goes like this. We all know that at the beginning of each match, we start with 3 energy. And then for each succeeding rounds, we gain 2 more. This goes the same for our enemy's energy. With that in mind, let's look at the typical arena scenario. If the enemy plays 3 energy in the first round, we know that he used all of his energy and therefore will have 2 energy for the next round. However, if the enemy plays only 2 energy in the first round, then he would still have 1 energy left. So in the next round, he will have a total of 3 energy. So we just keep on doing this for the succeeding rounds, subtracting energy, then adding 2 energy for the next round, and that's how we keep track of the enemy's energy count. It's so easy to count the enemy energy at this point. However, there are times when the enemy will save up or play cards like Energy Gain, Energy Steal, or Energy Destroy. In this case, it would take a little more effort to count the enemy's energy, but you don't have to worry, it is still doable. You just need to get into the habit of adding and subtracting energy as it plays. You don't have to do it perfectly the first try. This skill will develop over time. The reason why we're counting the enemy's energy is to have an idea of what the enemy's next turn is going to be. I think the best way to show you guys how to count energy is by jumping into Arena and actually doing it. But first, let's tackle all the other tips and then apply everything we learned into Arena later. Next tip is tip number 3, counting cards. Aside from counting the enemy's energy, we also need to count the cards that our enemy is playing. In order to do this, we need to learn the basics of the Axie deck. As we know, each Axie has 4 different cards, and in the deck, you have 2 of each card for a total of 8 cards per Axie. Now, if we have 3 Axies, we multiply those 8 cards by 3 Axies, and we get 24 cards, having 2 of each move in one deck. A move can only be drawn twice until you have drawn all the other cards remaining. To put it simply, you cannot draw a specific card anymore once you have used that move twice in the early game. You can expect to draw that card again at around round 5 or round 4 depending on how early your front Axie dies. So for example, I played my plant's pumpkin twice in round 1. I cannot now expect to draw more pumpkin cards for the coming rounds until round 5. With this in mind, we need to watch the enemy's cards as well. For beginners, you don't have to count all cards of the enemy. It will be very daunting to do that along with energy counting. So, we just need to focus our minds on the enemy's key cards. Key cards are cards that will have significant impact on the way how the game plays. Cards like Energy Steal, Energy Destroy, or cards with the highest shield and the highest damage, or cards that have poison or other debuffs, or cards with backdoors. Basically, any card that will have a big effect in the battle. You need to count those cards so that you know the enemy's capabilities for the next turn. I think card counting is very important in the early to mid game, but once you're in the late game, you don't have to be very strict about card counting because it's easier to draw cards at that point and card counting wouldn't be that reliable. Combining energy counting and card counting will give you an idea of what cards your enemy will play next. It's now up to you to use that information to decide on what your next move should be. Oh, and also remember, you also have to count your cards as well so you have an idea of what cards you can expect for the next round. Card counting takes practice, but remember that most people do not do this. Moving on to the next tip, check your enemy cards at the beginning of the match. You have to know your enemy. What are they capable of? Which aspect are they strong at? What do you think is their weakness? The reason why you check the enemy's cards is to identify your enemy's key cards. You can click on each axis to show what cards they are holding. At first, it will take a little more time to read each card, but as you progress in the game, you can see what cards and their effects each axis possess just by looking at their body parts. Once you have checked the cards of your enemy, the next step would be is to get an idea of how their team plays out. Are the Axies the type of team to do burst damage in one combo? Or are they the ones who chip away at your health slowly? Once you have an idea, now you can plan if you have to outdamage them quicker or if you need to play more defensively. With experience, you'll be able to identify the enemy's card at first glance, and that can save you some time. Experience is really an advantage in this game, so that's why you have to pay attention and learn every battle. Knowing your enemy is one step closer to victory. Here we go with tip number 5. Know the Axie type advantage. So here I'll show you guys a simple chart about the Axie types. Okay, so there are 9 types of Axies. The one at the top is the plant, reptile, and the dusk. The one on the left is the beast, bug, and the mech. And the one on the right is the bird, aqua, and the dawn. As you can see here, each Axie type falls under one of the 3 groups. These groups form a rock, paper, scissors type of advantages. That's why some Axies deal more damage to a specific Axie but lower to a different one. One example is a beast Axie dealing more damage to plants and reptiles but deals less damage to birds and aquas. Because if you look at the graph, beasts, the one with the yellow paw icon, have a 15% damage advantage to plants and reptiles, but has a 15% damage disadvantage to birds and aquas. You have to familiarize yourself with the Axie type advantage, so that you know which Axie to use to deal the highest possible damage. You can also gauge here if you have the advantage in the late game or not. For example, if the enemy backline is an aqua and our backline is a beast, we will have a disadvantage if we let it become a one-on-one situation. That's why we have to finish the enemy quickly. Here's tip number 6. Know your cards. Along with knowing your enemy cards, it's also equally important to know about your cards. With how the Axie type advantage works, you now know that you deal different damage to different Axies. It is a great advantage to memorize how much damage you deal in different scenarios. You don't actually have to get the exact numbers, but what you get is a feel of how many cards you need to use to bring down a specific Axie. This also applies with defending. Knowing your Axie's weaknesses matters too. Okay, so let me give you an example. Now that I'm familiar with my team, I know that I can eliminate a plant Axie in round 1 with just 3 of my beast cards. So I would take a risk of doing that if possible, knowing that most teams pass on the first round. Another case is that I know that it will only take 3 aqua cards to bring down my beast, and I know that my enemy has 4 energy. Now, I wouldn't bother to use my beast cards anymore, because there is a high chance the enemy will eliminate my beast before it even gets to attack. I'm not saying that you should do the math every time. You just have to pay attention, and as you go along, you will memorize it unknowingly. Knowing your cards prevent you from overcommitting and wasting your cards and energy. I'm not saying that you should do the math every time. You just have to pay attention, and as you go along, you will memorize it unknowingly. Knowing your cards will prevent you from overcommitting and wasting your cards and energy. Moving on to the next tip, tip number 7. Know how buffs and debuffs work. Here's the site where you can see the effects of buffs and debuffs. You can check it out at axie.zone/debuffs. Looking at the website, we can see here the buffs and debuffs involved in Axie Infinity. You should familiarize yourself with all of this. I know that there's a lot, but I can tell you which ones you should look out for in most cases. You need to watch out for speed up and speed down buffs, as this can ruin your plans for the next turn. Be more careful if the enemy has a stun or a fear card, because these debuffs will cause your Axies to miss their attack. You should try avoiding to get your backline poisoned in the early game, because it lasts the whole game and will chip away the health of your backline. This can lead to a one-on-one situation where your Axie is already at half health and the enemy still has full. So those are the most common buffs and debuffs that you will encounter in Arena. If you know what the debuffs can do, you can find a way to work around those effects. Okay, for our next tip, tip number 8. Order of the cards matter. As beginners, when we first played, we just play random cards in whatever order, thinking that, hey, it deals the same damage anyways, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. You need to order your cards properly in order to achieve your desired outcome. For example, if you want to backdoor, you want to play your backdoor card first, so that all your attacks will hit the back axis. But if you don't play the backdoor card first, then your attack would only hit the axis at the front. The order of the cards isn't limited to backdoors only. Let's take an attack buff. You don't want to follow it up with a low damaging card because as you know, the buff will only apply to the next card. If you have an attack buff, you would want to follow it up with your highest damaging card, so in that way, you'll deal 20% more damage for your highest attack. Card order also works defensively. If an enemy can stun you before you can attack, you might want to start your combo with a zero cost card or a low damaging one, so that you can remove your stun, then proceed to attack with your high damage cards. That's why it's a common practice to have one zero cost card for your backlines. Not only that it removes your stun, it also saves you energy. One of the complex axes to use is the Terminator. For them, card order is very important. You would have to play Chomp last if you want to keep your enemy stunned. Or, you may want to chomp your enemy first so that your next attack would pass through the enemy shield. These are some of the many reasons why you have to practice changing the order of your cards, so that you can know what combo to use best in different situations. You might think that these are simple adjustments, but it may surprise you when you turn your losing game into an awesome win. For tip number 9, always check the move order. The move order is the bar at the top of your screen. It indicates the order the axis will attack. At the beginning of each round, always check the bar at the top. I have lost so many battles because I assumed that my axis will attack first, but since then, I always check for the move order. So how does the move order work? The move order works based on 3 factors: speed, current health, and axis number. The most deciding factor is the speed of the axis. An axis with a speed of 42 will move first compared to an axis with a speed of 41. Now what if 2 axes have the same speed? The second factor now would have to come in, which is the current health of the axis. In the event that 2 or more axes have the same speed, the one with the lowest current health will turn first, to be followed next by the axis with the second lowest health, and so on and so forth. So for example, there are 2 axes here with the same speed, but with different healths. The lower health axis will go first. Now what if 2 axes have the same health and the same speed? Then the third and last factor will have to come in. This is the axis number. If 2 or more axes have the same speed and at the same health, The one that will turn first is the Axie with the lowest number. The Axie number depends on when the Axie was hatched. If the Axie was hatched at an earlier date, then it will have a lower Axie number. You can check the Axie number when you click on the Axie during Arena. The move order may always change because of the speed buff and debuff. That's why you should make a habit of checking the move order every beginning of the round. If not, you might make a mistake of playing all your cards on the slower Axie, and it can die before even getting to attack. Now that we've tackled all the basics that you should know in Arena, here's the most important tip of all. Tip number 10. Be patient. With all the tips mentioned before, you will now have an idea on how the game would go. It will be always tempting to win as fast as possible. However, if you let your excitement decide your next move, you are prone to make a mistake. Be patient and apply first all the tips that I've mentioned before making your next turn. It would be such a waste if the whole game you had the advantage, but at the last moment, the enemy makes a game-changing move you forgot to consider. Do not get too excited and make the most obvious move. Being patient not only involves attacking and defending. If you don't have a good play, you might want to consider taking a pass to prepare better for the next round. Now that we're done with the 10 tips, it's time to apply them into Arena. Let's jump in. Alright, it seems like we're up against a plant with a heal. Oh, a double heal. And then a beast with a bird card. And then a reptile. Oh, with a scaly lunge and vine dagger. So let's see. The enemy has 3 energy now. I think I would play this one and this one so that I can gain a card or steal an energy. Okay, so he didn't make a move. And I steal 1. Now I know that my enemy has 2 energy last round. And now the enemy has 4, same as mine. So let's see. I think this is the time where he will put up a shield on his plant. Let's see. I think I'll make a pass at this round because I don't have cards on my beast yet. Okay. See, we didn't attack into his carrot. He wouldn't gain an energy. So last round he got 3 left and now he has 5 energy. Now we have 6. Oh. What would this Axie do? It has 6 energy. I've seen a carrot and there's a chance that his Axie will attack my plant. But my beasts still don't have their cards, so maybe it's time that I put up all my shields here. So I'll put first the pumpkin and then carrot and then the cactus. The reason for that is because if he stuns me with his reptile, I get to remove it with my pumpkin first. Gain 1 energy. 6, so that's 5, that's 4, and that's 3, and he gained 1 energy. So that's 4. Now he has 6 energy, and I have 5. Now, I think this time that I will attack. He has 5 energy, I also have 5 energy. I mean 6 energy, and I have 5. Probably kill my plant now, right? So, all right. Let's ensure that. Oh, it took a pass. So, I used up all of my energy there. So next round he will have 8 energy. Gonna get my plant now with the beast probably, and then we'll get my. I'm out of beast cards already. I can slow the beast down. So next round, I would make the turn first. I think that's enough. I wouldn't bother putting up shields on my Axie because the enemy has a lot of energy. There you go. So that's 4. He has 8 energy, right? So that's 3, total of 7. He has 1 energy left. So next round he has 3 energy and only have 2 energy. Now that I'm stunned, if I take a pass, my beast will die. He's gonna use this reptile card. So let's see. I'm gonna risk it and take a pass. There you go. So now his beast will make a turn first. I think I'm gonna defend with just a sticky goo, and then a mystic rush and a double chomp. He used 1 energy earlier, so now he has 4 energy. All right. He knew that his beast will probably die, and his beast probably don't have the cards, right? Okay. He goes for the chomp, and he's gonna get stunned because I have the sticky goo. And then I'm going to go first. Okay. So let's see. I think he's going to attack, but I have to chomp him. I also have to defend with sticky goo. So I think I'll go for this card. I'm gonna use the sticky goo to remove my stun, and then I'm gonna use the mystic rush to apply a debuff on him, and then use chomp to leave him stunned. Okay. Puts up a lot of shield, but that's okay. That's not my goal. My goal is to stun him so that he deals less damage to me. Alright, there we go. 1 tiny swing, and then miss, and then I'll get chomped. Alright. So I think best case to do here that probably use Mystic Rush to remove my stun and then jump him, pull an allergic, probably like that. Okay. Still has a lot of energy and a lot of cards. Okay. We're in a bit of a hard situation here. I think what he's gonna do is try to chomp me and then hit me with tiny swing too, so that the attack will go straight to my health. So I'm gonna shield. With these cards, I will shield just 90 so that when he chomps me, he's gonna get stunned. Chomp deals around 92 damage, so will definitely activate Sticky Goo. There we go. Oh, he didn't have a lot of choice there. Oh, it's Blood Moon Cursed. Now I just have to survive this round. 80. Probably should do this. Or a double sticky goo. But probably it's safer to do this now. Okay, here we go. Oh, there's a lot of fight left in him. Oh, there we go. We bagged the win. Didn't expect that he has a lot of cards at the final round. Alright guys, as promised, here are some post-game practices that you can do to further improve your arena gameplay. Post-game tip number 1. Analyze your replays. You can watch your replays by clicking on the scroll icon in the main menu. You will see the history of your battles here, and you can click each battle to watch a replay. From here, you can review the game and identify what mistakes you made or keep on making. You can spot mistakes like the wrong order of the cards or review the amount of energy you've counted versus the actual energy. You can see in the replay the cards and energy of your enemy as well. This will surely help you know which part of your game needs improvement. Post-game tip number 2. Watch other people play. There are a lot of streamers and content creators that you can follow. Try to follow people that has the same or similar team composition as yours. By watching them, you can get to know different strategies that you can use in different occasions. You might even discover a combo you haven't even tried before. Okay, for our final post-game tip. Post-game tip number 3. Check out leaderboard stats. You can check these out at axie.zone/leaderboard. Check out what the top players are having in their teams. There is a reason why they are at the top of this game. You can check out their team composition and even watch their game replays down below. If you're planning to upgrade your team, you might want to consider what's on the meta by checking on the leaderboards. Most people base on this to see and copy what the top players are doing so that they can get to a higher MMR. Well, there you go guys. Those are all the tips in winning the Axie Arena. If you keep these things in mind, I am sure that you'll be bagging those high SLP wins and getting to that sweet MMR you deserve.